It was early morning when the HOA sent their next edict, a prohibition against my reservoir on the century-old farm. The air was crisp, filled with the earthy scent of soil and water, and the reservoir shimmered like a silver mirror in the gentle sunlight. This body of water had been more than a utility. It was a lifeline for my crops, livestock, and family, and it had existed long before the HOA even considered its authority. Yet, they believed they could dictate its use, impose their rules, and limit my control. I read the communication carefully, noting the language, timing, and tone. The prohibition was a thinly veiled attempt to assert dominance, a bureaucratic maneuver designed to intimidate. But I had anticipated such an attack. I understood that authority without enforcement was empty, and that threats against my property required a response that was both swift and decisive. Within 5 minutes of receiving the notice, I acted. The reservoir was connected to an energy source controlling irrigation, pumps, and distribution across the property. With precise control, I severed energy to the entire HOA-controlled area, including a vast region where their livestock and operations depended on continuous power. The effect was immediate. Pumps stalled, water flow ceased, and machinery ground to a halt. Their reaction was instantaneous confusion and alarm, an unanticipated consequence of their attempt to restrict me. I observed from the lodge, monitoring their area via remote sensors. The HOA officers scrambled, attempting to restore order, to reassert authority, and to comprehend the sudden disruption. Every movement was documented, every reaction noted. The severity of the impact was undeniable. They were entirely dependent on systems they had no control over, and my understanding of those systems ensured that they could not bypass my intervention. The lesson was clear and inescapable. Intrusion, regulation, or assumed control over my property would always meet resistance grounded in preparation, authority, and strategy. While the HOA had believed that forbidding my reservoir would compel compliance, they had failed to anticipate the consequences of their own overreach. The disruption they faced was not punitive out of spite. It was a measured demonstration of the principle that interference comes at a cost when one trespasses on territory that is properly defended. As the day progressed, I documented the incident meticulously. Every system I had manipulated, every reaction from their personnel, and every interruption in their operations was logged. This record served not only as a safeguard against future claims but also as a testament to the effectiveness of foresight and preparedness. The farm, its reservoir, and all associated resources were secured, while the HOA was confronted with the limits of their assumed authority. The landscape itself seemed to respond to the events. Birds circled above, their cries echoing across the fields, while the livestock moved calmly within the controlled boundaries of the farm. The reservoir, once threatened by bureaucratic overreach, reflected the sky with calm clarity, its surface undisturbed by human folly. Every ripple, every shimmer of sunlight on the water was a reminder that preparation, vigilance, and authority rooted in knowledge could maintain order where arrogance alone could not. By evening, the energy supply remained under my control, and the HOA had no choice but to acknowledge the consequences of their attempt to interfere. Their agitation, confusion, and rapid response highlighted the effectiveness of strategic action against assumed power. They had expected compliance. They encountered control. They had hoped for submission. They found sovereignty. As night fell, the farm settled into quiet. The reservoir reflected the moonlight, serene and untouchable. I walked along its edge, feeling the cool breeze and listening to the soft murmur of water against the banks. Every action taken that day reinforced a singular truth. Intrusion, regulation, or attempted dominance over my property would be met with decisive, calculated resistance. The farm, its resources, and its legacy remained intact, secure, and sovereign. The HOA had tested the boundaries once more, yet the outcome was unmistakable. Authority assumed without understanding is fragile. Audacity faced with foresight falters. The reservoir, long a symbol of sustenance and life for the farm, had become a testament to preparation and control. Their prohibition had been rendered ineffective in mere minutes, leaving only the reminder that true power comes not from edicts or calls to action, but from knowledge, readiness, and the unwavering defense of what is rightfully yours.